What's good? Happy New Year. Hopefully everybody's doing well, family, things, and everything in your life. Happy New Year's, everybody. This is Osiris. I go by Index Red is the channel now. I had an article in front of me I thought was interesting. I had a few minutes, so I said, let's go live. Or actually just an excuse to show off the sharp America First hat. My kids were like, "What's that? What's that hat?" I was like, "Oh, there's a young man named Nicholas J. Fuentes I support, and the concept of America First." This article is about ICE, and I'm very interested in the immigration topic because I'm off the immigration boat as far as it's a concern, the illegal immigration, but I have a top priority that is way above that. And it's people who are here legally who have really undermined the system. And that's the problem more than anything. I went on a little bit of a rant on X talking about, now I'm looking at the Mexicans a little differently now. The Mexicans, I live around a lot of Mexicans. Mexicans don't really mess with you. Even though they don't assimilate, it's not like the American black where you would never really, nobody says, I want a lot of money and I want to live around American blacks. It's almost like you would rather not, except for the exceptions. But nobody really is that concerned about the Hispanics, the Mexicans. A lot of them are Catholics. There's a lot of weirdo ones for sure. But there's, I think that's a small percentage of them. Most of them are just Catholic family people. Christian says, you're officially, yeah, it's official. Officially America First now, AF now. Congratulations, I won a GIA t-shirt. Yeah, I did. I ordered this a while ago because he opened it up to, he found a processor. It's probably very expensive for him, but got a processor to just take regular stuff. And I have crypto, but I don't even mess with wallets or whatever. I don't even know how to do it, to be honest with you. So I never got the product because he was only crypto only, believe it or not. He couldn't find a processor. This is the great country we live in. You got triangle head-shaped Somalis literally raping the country for millions to billions of dollars. And they're not even the worst. We know the legal ones are the worst, the Jews, the politicians, billions but we're still going to talk about the Somalis, the weird protruding forehead, odd eyes, weird mouth-shaped, triangular head, balding ass. They're like 20 years old and balding, receding hairline ass, having non-English speaking ass Somalis that need to go back to hell where they came from. They're out here raping, literally, financially raping the country for billions of dollars. Walking around in glasses worth thousands of dollars, fitted out. Man, that shit is crazy. I'm off topic, man. I have already talked about, I'm not talking about that shit again. But they are raping the country, and this dude can't even get a processor to so people can buy his hats, but at least he got some shady ass processor now or whatever. But it is official, Christian. Happy New Year to you and your family. The Mexicans, I don't have a problem with them, and even illegals are not my top priority, to be honest with you. Like I said, they're hard workers. They're the Somalis who are here legally are a bigger problem than the hardworking Mexicans to me. And tell me if I'm wrong. There is so much stuff going down in this country. You have to prioritize. You have to prioritize. What's number one? And that's what you just got to focus on. Really, number one should be free speech, digital bill of rights. But I've just thrown that out. Nobody cares. Nobody wants it. So I've kind of just thrown, it's in my principles, but I'm not going to, what am I going to do? Talk about that every time? So let's just take that off the table. Is the number one problem, or the number two problem, is the subversion of power by the hats is probably the number two problem, because all other problems stem from that problem. And It's a big shift, I guess, or evolution from the channel, but I understand some of the funny mustache man more and more every day. Not from a violent standpoint, but from a fundamental standpoint, because I'm a peaceful person. I am nonviolent, peaceful, non-aggression. But from the standpoint of identifying what the problem is, I think we've have aligned on where the man was. I mean, at least for me, in certain aspects, for sure. The Asians come here, they hate they hate America, they hate Western culture. They don't like the Constitution. They don't believe in that. So they come here, use the universities for accreditation. They rape the country, take the money, go back to wherever they came, send it back. The Somalis come here, rape the country financially, go back, take it wherever they bring the money back to whoever they need to give it back to, because they're not effing Americans. Now, the Mexicans do the money stuff. They don't care about America. They don't understand the founding of it. Some of them become liberals, but I think a large part of them, they are not. When we look at the immigration problem, they are not, they might not even be in the top 5. You've got the Jeets, you've got the Asians, absolutely despise this country, absolutely hate Americans, hate white people, hate anyone that talks about the founding of the country in that aspect where you wouldn't hate white people. Some of them say it, some of them know they don't want to say it. Of course, we have the Jews. You've got the Somalis, these Haitians, there's so many groups. The Muslims, they hate America. Why are they here? So I am out, because when people talk about this mass deportation, they're talking about the illegal Mexicans. Well, I need to talk about the legal ones now. I've evolved. I'm out. Yeah, that's a problem, but what's a more important problem? They're demanding you now from the right to support these visas. It's H-1B and a whole bunch of slew of them. Legal immigration. Your president's talking about bringing in 600,000 Asians. What? To take advantage of the universities, the liberal universities, to come here, take advantage of them, take spots from Americans. There's only so many spots at the universities. Get their accreditation, make their money, and hate the country. Your own president is doing that now, while he's celebrating New Year's Day with his boss. Why? Don't talk to me about Pedro, who builds a house. I've worked with some of the Mexicans. Yeah, they pile the cars up 30 niggas deep, and they can't see outside the back window, and they're driving trucks that are swerving. Yeah, there's problems, but, and I know, yeah, there's a small problem of, I don't know, maybe 10% of them that just run around, not figuratively raping, but literally raping. Yeah, that's a problem. They're a little bit too rapey, let's just say. That's a small problem. But damn, overall, even with that, the problems are so big, that is not even in my top 5 with immigration. And immigration isn't even the top. So even if, let's get it down to immigration, is that your top issue? Where are the Mexicans in that? They're not even in that. So when they talk about ICE deportation, that's all they're really talking about. I know they're talking about illegals in general, but mostly it's Mexicans coming across the border. The Jews are here legally. The Jeets are here legally. The Somalians. We invited those niggas here. We invited below 70 IQ pirates into the fucking country. That's a bigger problem than Maria, who's working at a hotel. I'm sorry, it just is. Explain to me why I'm wrong. I always leave room to be wrong. Christian, $5 super chat, thank you. He says, I do resent anyone who sees the U.S. as merely an economic zone to be squeezed. Absolutely. I resent anyone, including Americans, who go against the founding of the country. It's that simple. I don't care who you are. And I might resent you more than an illegal even. Or I would prioritize you as a problem more than an illegal. The Jeets are way more, they're building statues that are 200 feet tall to their demon Hindu gods. They're a little bit bigger problem than the ones coming across the border working at Home Depot. They're just a little bit than the ones where you hire to clean your house and you give them $20 and they do hours of work. You come home, the house spotless, and you slide them a $5 bill. Basically indentured servitude, just like a little bit above slavery and indentured servitude. And they still work their ass off for the $5 and they're grateful for it. They're in the neighborhood. They don't cause any problems. And, maybe they play a little music. No problems in the larger thing of the issue. The problem is they don't assimilate. The culture is different. But big picture, it's not like I'm like, oh, man, I got to deal with this. Like it would be living around. Like imagine if you lived in a neighborhood with all of your typical black women. Yeah, that would be the effing nightmare. But you say typical Mexicans, not nearly as a problem. So even the blacks, the legal blacks, the lineage blacks, not that I don't respect the lineage, but they're a bigger problem than Pedro and them. I'm putting it, you just see they're just dropping down my list of priorities. So when I see that's what's in my head, and I've looked through the article, but that's what's in my head when I see this article. The article is through the Washington Post. ICE planned 100 million wartime recruitment push targeting gun shows, military fans for hire. And part of my kind of thing here is Trump has not deported even a lot of people, even if you're looking at the Mexicans, for all the fanfare, and definitely not mass deportations, and not at Obama levels. I think barely at Biden levels at this point. So that doesn't make sense. I thought it was supposed to be much more than that. So where's the money going? Because we got money that's flowing in now from some of these bills. Where is the money going? And part of this story is that a strategy document shared among immigration officials detailed the plans to use influencers. So that caught my eye again. So the money is being passed. The money is being passed. And then now we're looking at it from the standpoint of so the money's being passed in, and now we're looking at it from the standpoint of, wait a second. It's going towards influencers for what? That's where I'm kind of looking at it like, what's really happening here? So let's kind of go through this article here. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officials are planning to spend $100 million over a one-year period to recruit gun rights supporters and military enthusiasts. So they're going through and they're targeting certain people, and this is to work for ICE. And my problem is, I thought the courts were the problem. So they're saying that the problem for the low deportation seems to be, I mean, it must be, what they're saying is we don't have enough people. So they're looking to hire about 14,000 new people through these ads. So they funnel the money through influencers. And what it looks like is you're breaking off people who are friendly to you, whether it's Rumble or whoever else. They're going to use geo-targeted advertising to do what they call a wartime type of commitment. So that's do they call it wartime? The agency called it wartime recruitment. If you're trying to do immigration, even those who want, what I mean by immigration is really deportation. What most people want is to be good. And when you phrase it as, and they're not going to market it as that, but if you're doing the internal stuff as wartime, and they kind of are marketing that on the DHS kind of Twitter account and their marketing, that doesn't show me that you're serious about it, because you would want to portray it as a just and righteous kind of position to take, not a wartime position that really, I thought it was supposed to be this big tent approach. So why would you do a big tent approach that doesn't, so you have a big tent approach that doesn't market it, even internally, you would want to market it as a big tent approach where like this is the reason why we're doing it. So they're not marketing it as the America First type of angle why we're doing it. It's a wartime thing. That's a terrible, you would never want to market like that because it would never go over well. Nobody wants to do deportation, not your normal person, and have it marketed as wartime. That's not a mass type of marketing type of ploy. So I don't fully understand even the internal marketing for it, why it would look like that. So we'll continue on with the article. So you see that I'm trying to figure out, what does this mean? What's the approach? Why would they do this? They're saying the spending would help Donald Trump's mass deportation agenda dominate media networks and recruitment channels, including through ads targeting people who have attended UFC fights, listened to patriotic podcasts. So if you're listening to certain podcasts, that's why they have all the data. They have the data, so when they need to, they can target you. I mean, that you use the data for those purposes. We pretty much all knew that was going to be happening. So the Department of Homeland Security is talking about fast tracking their approach to increase ICE's workforce by hiring more than 10,000 new employees and promoting it on social media, calling for recruits willing to perform their sacred duty, defend the homeland by repelling foreign invaders. The agency currently employs I'm just trying to absorb the marketing there. The agency currently employs more than 20,000 people, according to ICE's website. But the document reported here for the first time reveals new details about the vast scale of recruitment effort. So why is it? I'm just wondering how much money of this is being allocated to the actual infrastructure of deporting people. And we'll kind of see if it gets to that later on. The document was distributed among ICE officials in the days after the agency published a request for bids seeking contractors who could use precise audience targeting. It's a good test for that type of thing, too, to see how effective that data is at targeting people. You have to test that out. So let me see if I'm going to try to put this in my, let's see here. I'm going to try to see if it has some of these answers while I'm reading it, because I don't remember seeing any of that in there, but I do want to test it out. Okay, so I'll get an answer while I'm reading here. So the document did not name specific influencers, but we all know who it could be. Obviously, you would have to be pro-Israel. but said it would focus on former agents, veterans, and pro-ICE creators who would be expected to host live stream events, attend and post short and long form video and other content to Facebook, Instagram, Rumble, X, and YouTube. The objective, it said, is to build trust through authentic peer-to-peer messaging. This is a good example of, this whole thing so far is all about media. And this is a good example of how the podcasting space, because we know they're all talking about podcasters, how the podcasting space has become basically the mainstream media. It's corporate media. All the people that they're saying now, they're just turn them into, because nobody's watching CNN and all that like they used to, except for the older group. So you're going to turn whoever's watching still a lot of these larger podcasts that are pro-Israel or don't speak against Israel, talking about them in that light. So they are the media, the corporate media. Listeners on Spotify have heard ICE ad calls on recruits to fulfill your mission. So they're already running it, I guess. I have not heard any of it. Leading to hundreds, but I don't listen to a lot of them, a lot of those podcasts. I'm wondering if they would, probably on the War Room. War Room is the one I check in with Steve Bannon, probably a little bit. The only mainstream one, Candace Owens, but I don't know if they would do it on hers. I do watch Candace Owens on YouTube, obviously Nick Fuentes. I'm trying to think of the ones that they would be targeting that I still watch. Maybe the War Room might be the only one. Maybe InfoWars, but I'm kind of out on InfoWars. No. So let's keep going. One NASCAR viewer who saw the ads on live stream said on Reddit post they changed the channel and separately told the post that they had never felt such distaste for a government airing such ads. Yeah, that's a Washington Post probably angle there. I don't see a lot of NASCAR people saying that. So it's all about the ads. So these are the ads here. Defend the homeland. So they got a retro look on the ads. Join ICE now. So the ads do have a patriotic view to them. It is defend the homeland though, which is that does have like a war type of, and it's not that I'm necessarily against that, but that's not how I would market this. It's divisive is what it is. When you do specifically the immigration thing, you definitely would want to present it as more of a dignified type of thing. We've never seen immigration agencies strip down the policy debates to this level of raw imagery. Yeah, it is. I mean, if you are for this, you might like the branding. Because you're right. They're right here. I've never seen it placed like this. It's part of the Trump, because Trump will project a lot of things that he doesn't do. So this whole marketing to recruit, it funnels money back to ICE, and you don't really have to do much with it. Beyond demographic targeting, the strategy document also identified New York, Los Angeles, Minneapolis, Chicago, Boston as key locations for finding recruits. The largest local recruitment target, seeking up to 1,000 removals, is slated for the New Orleans field office. Interesting. Very interesting. ICE hosting hiring events. including at a Texas job fair earlier this year. And then the ads run separately from other large-scale campaigns that celebrate Trump's immigration agenda and urge undocumented immigrants to leave. So I saw this. DHS has awarded more than $200 million in contracts this year to People Who Think and Safe America Media, two marketing firms linked to Republican political consultants. Guys, this is a mess. What? DHS has awarded more than $200 million in contracts this year to marketing firms. Guys, this is just, I mean, it's a complete hoax. The mass deportation. 200 million into marketing? And what is the marketing accomplishing? Wow. Is that true? I didn't know. That's separate from this whole thing. They've already awarded more than 200 million in contracts to People Who Think and Safe America Media. Those efforts, too, have relied on ad targeting techniques more commonly used by corporate marketing campaigns. On a message board for the music streaming service Pandora, some users were furious about the ads. That's the Washington Post thing. I'm not concerned about people being furious about it. I just want the substance here. Earlier this month, a transit operator in Long Beach, California, removed ICE recruitment ads from its buses and apologized for the uncertainty and fear they may have caused. So that does matter because it does go to my point where it's like, isn't the marketing supposed to help with things, not hurt things in that aspect? Like, what's the point of the marketing if it doesn't help when you put it on a bus that somebody doesn't have to say, I'm sorry for the feds? I know that sounds crazy, but isn't that the point of the marketing so you don't really have to do that as much? I don't I don't fully get that. Because if you're going to market to recruit, then you would want to kill two birds with one stone, and you would not want to kind of mess it up by marketing to recruit, then also kind of, especially going into the midterms, it really doesn't make sense. It's what it is you just gave the money to the marketers and the marketers are just doing what you told them. With AI now, I don't know what, they're probably not doing much work at all. And they got broke off 200 mil. Americus Reed, a marketing professor at the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School, I believe that's where Trump went, said the ICE strategy reminded him of the Army of One campaign that the military once used to build up recruits as mighty war fighters critical to safeguarding the American way of life. Yeah, the military is a whole different thing. You can't advertise ICE as if it's the military. Or you shouldn't. Because you call the military the Department of War. You definitely don't want to conflate that, to me, especially with the problems that we've seen here in America with basically the due process is a huge question in this country. Very crazy stuff. Well, that's basically that came down to marketing. The whole thing was about marketing. Wow. Mm. And then consultants. Woo. When you start hearing that, that's where they waste tons and tons of money. And that's not where I would have expected the movement to be. So sorry, I don't have good news for you on that one. There's nothing there that makes sense to me. I'm just going through this was a clip from Joe Rogan and I'm not going to play the clip, but Shane Gillis was on with Joe Rogan, shifting gears here. And we're hearing Nick's name being brought up more often on Joe Rogan, Nick Fuentes. And that was just at the end of the year last year. This clip is from December 25th. It's probably when the show aired because White Sox Clips is on it quickly. But at the end of the year, he sits down with Shane Gillis, and they're basically praising Nick Fuentes. Now, Joe Rogan goes back and forth. He's not consistent, that's for sure. But they're basically praising Nick Fuentes. And it made me think about the year, and the year started with Your Body, My Choice Forever, objectively one of the most viral tweets of all time. And every single day of 2025 was dominated by the Groypers. So now we're done with 2025. We can look back at it in the same way that Trump used to be, and Trump is still in the news every day, but he wasn't the most important part of the news every day. I mean, Trump's out now. I mean, he's not the same as far as that. You know, he's still important in the news, but he's not the number one news. And since 2015, I believe, was it the summer of 2015, he came down the escalator. He has dominated the news cycle every single day, even when he wasn't in office, until 2025. And who dominated every day of 2025? It was the Groypers. That was a hell of a year for the Groypers. I tip my hat to you guys. It's the biggest white pill going right now. This is a movement that starts online and filters out into the real world. That's not an easy thing to do. And Nick hasn't even done a real world event in a while. So this guy, Weaver Whiteheart, he's the one that did the epic Nick Fuentes response to Tucker animated kind of anime video, which was just absolutely outstanding. He has another one that just came out, and this is just my shout out to the Groypers through Weaver Whiteheart, who does amazing videos.
Nick Fuentes, thank you for doing this.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I wanted to meet you. I've heard about you.
I got calls from a lot of people, including some very influential people who knew a lot about Nick Fuentes. And they're like, this kid is the single most influential figure among young white men, and not just white, actually.
Is that true?
Oh, it's definitely true.
The fragmentation of the political right is being caused purposefully by a splinter faction of people led by a young man named Nick Fuentes.
Now let's move to Nick Fuentes. Guy's 27 years old. He's a punk. Absolute punk.
Fuentes is a 27-year-old man who's dubbed himself the leader of a movement called the Groypers. He has a large audience of alienated young white men in particular, and he's earned increased media attention over the course of the past few years, especially over the last year.
We cancel stuff all the damn time. Hitler admirers, Stalin admirers, Jew haters, American haters, Churchill haters. You're damn right we're going to cancel them and deplatform them.
No to the Groypers. No to their publicists like Tucker Carlson. No to those who champion them. No to demoralization. No to bigotry and anti-meritocratic horseshit. No to anti-Americanism. No. This is our country.
And I just want the anti-American, anti-Israel, anti-West crowd to understand something. You think your stupid little podcast, your stupid little subscription program is going to change the world? Like hell it is.
We beat censorship. We beat cancel culture. Our ideas are mainstream. We won the debate. We won the hearts and minds of millions of young men, and they're everywhere. 30 to 40% of the White House are groypers. You lost! All these people that said, Chicago doesn't matter. You're just some kid from Chicago. I support America because America supports Israel. They don't care about us. They don't care about young men. And they don't care about them because I'm one of them. Why will I never apologize? Why will I never do that? People line up, dozens of them every night, to say, I went back to church because of you. I got my life back on track because of you. I stopped smoking weed because of you. I stopped my pornography addiction because of you. I got married and had kids because of you. We are a team.
Let's look at the chat to see. Mike has bad knees. Happy New Year to you, sir. Mike has bad knees said, looks like he's talking about Nick Fuentes being a plant. I'm just trying to follow the conversation here. Democrats have an 18% approval rating. Dems only have hate and jealousy for President Trump's success. Dems have no solutions for the USA. Okay, I don't view the world, I mean, I don't disagree with that, but there's no difference between a Dem and Trump, though. Not a fundamental difference that I care about. That's why they focus on the trans issue so much, because you can make a clear distinction between Democrats and Republicans on the trans issue. And that's why I'm completely out on the trans issue. I don't care. That's not a fundamental type of disagreement. That's something I think should be handled locally anyway. When you talk about what bathroom people should use, that has nothing to do with the federal government. That should be handled on a private basis. Who cares? That's not a federal stance. If a dude wants to wear a dress or whatever, that don't care. If a dude wants to play sports with men, don't care. That's up to the sporting group. If you run an organization that want men to fight with women or whatever you do, I genuinely do not care. So when you take that off the table, give me the fundamental difference. I can't find it. I don't know what's the difference between Trump and Bill Clinton from the 90s? What's the difference between Trump and George Bush? The MAGA, I don't want to talk about Democrats. The MAGA group started as a rebuke to the Iraq War, a rebuke to weapons of mass destruction, and how that affected basically mostly white men, but all working class men. It wasn't just white. And we wanted America to be great again, and supporting Iraq and weapons of mass destruction and the Iraq War was against that. And now we see the maggots and the MAGA group supporting Iran bombs and bringing Benjamin Netanyahu in to talk about how bad Iran is. I don't give a shit about Iran. What does Iran have to do with me? I don't care. And you see, now it's supporting that. Now, Benjamin Netanyahu said, Iran's going to get nukes. I thought you bombed the nukes. I thought you already bombed them. What's happening here? They don't even have to keep the propaganda in line. They did a bombing run. People said, well, the bombing run didn't accomplish anything. And Trump said, no, it was great or whatever. Now, a few months later, Benjamin Netanyahu saying Iran could have nukes that could reach your cities. It's the exact same weapons of mass destruction ploy from the Iraq War. And now it's MAGA supporting it. So I don't really care to talk about Dems. We know what Dems are. Well, I need to talk about MAGA right now. Christian says, like I said, the Somalis and Muslims were always introduced as weaponized populations. Yeah. How else do we convey a sense of urgency? I don't know. I don't know if you can't force a sense of urgency. I think what that's why I like Nick Fuentes so much and the Groypers. Really, I should be saying Groypers more than Nick Fuentes, to be honest with you, because it's really more, and it's not against Nick, but Nick has created a movement. If it was just Nick Fuentes, it really wouldn't be the same. That's why the Groypers are important to this. Here's an example. Here's an example of how Nick has helped me kind of reprioritize where I'm at in this world. We have this guy, Clav. I call him Clav. It's clavicular. A lot of people call him Clav, but Clav for short. And when he's not running over niggas with his Cybertruck and me cheering about it, or I don't want anybody to be hurt, I would say me not really being disappointed that Hispanic or whatever nig he rolled over. He literally rolled over a nig in the Cybertruck. If you didn't know about this guy Clav. And so Nick did a collab with Clav, clavicular. And he did that collab with him months ago. It was a while ago, before I had no idea who this dude was. And a great example of Nick being ahead of the curve. I've played some of the Clav, we got the classic clavicular. He had one of the best podcasting moments ever. If you don't know, I was a little bit like, okay, I don't think I fully dissed Clav when Nick, I got just like, I didn't know what this was, this whole looks maxing thing. So I will see. I gotta handle a reply real quick, so I'm gonna stall. And then pick it up with the looks maxer. Let's get into looks maxing, everyone. I'm gonna play some elevator music, hopefully. If it'll play. No? I need my elevator music. Okay. Okay. I'm working again. So I have to take breaks just to make sure it looks like I'm not goofing off. So back to Clav. Clav has a Cybertruck. That's already a win. I'm a big fan of the Cybertruck, even though it's not doing what we thought numbers-wise for Tesla, but I think it's still a great vehicle. It is a toy vehicle at this point because of how expensive it is. But there's this thing going on with the streaming world where the streamers are out in real life. The high-profile streamers, they are walking around in public with mics and cameras just to make the stream interesting, which is, quality stuff. Sneako's great at it. And they have to get protection, though. It is dangerous. But other people, so when you're out in public, other people can come up to you. So other streamers are using that as an opportunity to get views because they're basically symbiotic with the algorithm and they see that Clav is getting views. So they want to get views. How do you get views? Confrontation. You wouldn't really get views dapping him up. They do, a lot of the streamers dap each other up. That's really what a lot of it is. But if you're not really in the Clav ecosystem, you can't dap him up, and that's not even going to get you a lot of views. You confront him. So this streamer, I think he's a Mexican or whatever, I call him a nig. He literally climbs up on the Cybertruck while Clav is in it. The video is probably 50 million views or something like that. So you've probably seen it. And Clav doesn't have any reaction. The dude is like a robot. He's just looking at this nig on his windshield, and his face literally has no reaction. It's just like, there's a random nig on my windshield. I'm going to probably be like, what the? I'm not going to panic, but I'm going to kind of look differently than if it's just a peaceful Tuesday afternoon. There's a nig on his windshield. I don't know if he has a piece or what, and the Cybertruck's pretty protective, but still. So he doesn't do anything. I don't know what happened. The nig kind of gets to the side of the Cybertruck, and Clav just literally runs the nig over. The Cybertruck is a very heavy vehicle. I don't know what happened to the nig. I honestly don't care if he lived or not. I don't want any harm or anything like that. But it's a defense thing. Like, you're on my car. I can move my car, so I have no problem with Clav. And I don't want anybody to be unlived, but I also don't necessarily care about everyone's. If he doesn't care about his life, I don't care about it any more than he does. So you're watching the video, and the Cybertruck hits the speed bump, and the speed bump is the nig. And there's some type of female in the car. She's like, ah! She starts crying. Clav still has no expression on his face. You would have never thought, if you just looked at him and didn't know what was happening, you would have thought nothing happened. I mean, you would have thought it was a housefly that he just casually moved out the way. And I think it was Clav or somebody else like, man, I don't know if he's alive or not. Or I think he might be dead or something like that. And Clav was like, I hope so. No expression. It was just an instant legendary moment. But when I first saw this stuff, the Clav is doing, like, I guess, plastic surgery and a TRT and all this kind of stuff. And that's just obviously not my lane, not my interest. But the larger thing here is he's unapologetic. He's like, this is what I am. This is what I do. I call it looks maxing or whatever. But it's just, and he's very knowledgeable about it. So he's not like some blonde or whatever, some idiot who's just doing stuff. He's very articulate when he talks about it. And you're like, that's his style. That's his thing. So you look deeper than that. That's surface level. Now, he's not, I don't know his religion, but he's not, I think I saw some clips. He's definitely not a Christian, but so everybody's not a Christian. So Nick Fuentes, so why would you like somebody who's this plastic surgery, or I think it's plastic surgery, all these different things to look better? And then he did an interview with Michael Knowles, which was unbelievable. But here's Nick talking about people saying, well, why? What's with this dude? I don't like this dude or whatever. Nick says right-wing take sellers who feel the need to counter-signal Andrew or now clavicular in any way are a disease. That's the Matrix line. We live in an era of total I don't even know how to pronounce that. Gynocracy and feminism. So basically, gynocracy. I've never heard that term before. And feminism. Society is being completely dismantled by girl bosses and their pussy-worshipping collaborators. Absolutely true. And all of these based dads and other old pieces of shit can only ever find the balls to get preachy about other men who reject the Matrix. There's nobody else who really words it that well. I don't know of anybody who words it like this. That's exactly the problem. So you have no problem with all these other things, but then now Clav is a problem for you. Why? Because he called JD Vance ugly and fat. That's why. And you know that matters. You know that matters. That's why when I say the people who are going after Clav, they're concerned about it. I'm a spiritually dead old fart who has reached the end of the male life cycle. I have no vitality and nothing interesting to say. A cower in the face of complete third world Negro invasion. He did use the hard ER. I don't know what YouTube does with it, so I'll skip the Negro invasion. Jewish power and boss bitch futurism. I have implicit contempt for all younger men, but for all of you whippersnappers need to listen to my little sermon about masculinity and stop paying attention to any guy with testosterone because that makes me feel bad. I guess real masculinity isn't about being rich, powerful, sexually successful, or virile. It's when you retreat to your little man cave to play with your dollies when your wife lets you off the hook from dish duty. You know, I can relate to that. That's me. Don't listen to the famous professional fighter with supercars who is extremely entertaining and influential. Listen to this quaint little doofus football fan. And I've gone against Tate, and that's particularly with the business that propped him up. And I still stand by that. Remember, all these oafs did the exact same thing when Trump ran for office. I think the only difference is that Trump is so old, he's less threatening. Nobody says it like that. So I'm going to be out. That's Nick Fuentes. I appreciate it, y'all. We're going to do fun stuff with the family. And I'll be out.